Hi, my name is Economical Kurian. My group's project was making solar energy more economical. So a little bit about our grand challenge. Solar power is a great renewable power source, but most of the population do not use it because of its price. In fact, only 1% of total energy consumption is solar power. The high price comes from the materials used to make photovoltaic cells, which make up solar panels. Engineers are currently exploring new ways to make photovoltaic cells capture more energy and at the same time make it cheaper to produce. So for our code, what we basically did is we took two data sets. One that has to do with the price of solar power over time, and the other one that has to do with photovoltaic production for countries over time, and we plotted that data with their trend lines, and then we extrapolated that data so that we could find future predictions using that data. So getting into our code, what we're doing is we're loading in our first data set, which is what I have here on my right, and all we're doing is having the years in three separate columns because some values are not here, and then we have our residential, non-residential, and our non-residential above 500 kilowatts in three other vectors, and basically we're just going to plot those. We're going to plot those vectors, and right here this is where we're plotting it. And right here is where we're polyfitting each column so that we could get the values we need to make future predictions. That's what we're doing from here to here. And then we're storing that into a vector. And now we're moving on to our second data set, which is what I have right here. We're loading this whole thing into a matrix. We're rounding all these values so that they're easier to work with, and then as you can see, some, like the previous one, some information is not available, so what we're doing is we're replacing all those with a 0. We're basically masking it. And right here, like we did with the other one, we're extracting our years into a vector, and then like all the productions for each year by country into other ones. Right here we're suppressing a warning. Basically all this warning was saying that is if we use the lower degree polynomial for our graph, it'd be more accurate, but we basically don't care about that, so it doesn't affect our data in any way, so we're just suppressing that variable. That warning, I should say. And right here we're plotting the data, and just like the first one, we're polyfitting all the different columns so that we have the values we need to make future predictions. And we're storing it into a vector. And right here we're printing out the countries, and we're just printing out some basic information for the data. So we're printing out the sums of all the cumulative productions for all the countries, and then we're printing out the country with the most photovoltaic production and the country with the least photovoltaic production. That will be the same for no matter how many times you run the code. Right here we're getting into some user inputs. So we're asking if they would like to look up a specific PV production for a country, by country and year. So if they say yes, we ask them what country they would like to look up, and here's some data validation just to make sure they picked a country. And then if the user, then we ask them what year they would like to look up, and then here's some data validation just to make sure they entered a year between 1995 and 2009. So we're finding what we need, the production, like whichever whichever production we need, and we're storing it. And if that production is 0, that means that it's one of these values in which it's one of the years and countries that we don't have the information, so we print out that that information is not available. And then at the end of the code, at the end of the while loop, we'll say, would you like to see another one? Would you like to look up another value? And then it just keeps on asking them until they no longer want to look up the productions. Sorry about that. And I think we were down here. Okay, so now we're going to ask them if they would like to see a future projection for a price, for like prices, basically using the first data set. So we asked them to input in a vector of years they would like to see past the year 2014 to make a prediction. And here's some data validation to ensure that that year is in fact above 2014. And if it's not, we're going to ask them to replace that value. And then there's also another data validation. Just if it's past the year 2020, the code will still run, but we're gonna give a warning saying that that projection may not be very accurate. Sorry, I keep on scrolling all the way up. So I think we were here now. This is the end. Sorry, that's not where we're at. Data set, add as user. Alright, so here we're going to ask them, after we're done asking them for future prices, if they're done, it's going to keep on asking them that until they're done wanting to see future prices. Then we're going to go ahead and start asking them if they would like to see future solar projections, production projections. So then, it's like the previous one, they enter in a vector of years. We have data validations to make sure that the year is above 2009, and then another data validation to make sure that the year is previous to 2015. Because if it's past 2015, that data may not be very accurate. So here we're outputting that data, and then we ask them if they would like to enter in another vector of years, and it just keeps on doing that until they're done. So now that I've explained the code, let's run it. Show you some different things. Gonna take a while. Alright, here we go. So here's the first, this is the plot of the second data set, and then here we have the plot of the first data set. And as you can see in the command window, we have some basic data of the second data set. We have the cumulative productions for all the years, and the largest cumulative production, and the lowest cumulative production, which country has the lowest and which country is the max. So we're going to say, would you like to look up a specific PV production? We're going to say yes. We're going to click China, and we're going to enter in the year 1990, and this should give us a warning because it's not in the correct range, and it's going to ask us to enter again. We're going to click 2015. That's also not in the range, so it's going to give us another warning. And so now let's type in a correct year, and we'll click 2007, and as you can see, it gives us that value. So if we go to China 2007, you can see it's 864, and it matches up. So then it's going to ask us with the menu function, would you like to see another one? We're going to say no. And it's going to ask us, would you like to see a future projected price? I'm going to say yes. Now we enter in a vector of years. So we're going to put 2011 and 2012. And as you can see, both of these values will not work because they're previous to 2014. They're previous to 2014. So what happens? Well, they'll ask us to re-enter each value in the vector. So first we're going to replace 2011 with 2015. We're going to replace 2012 with 2016. And now it gives us it gives us the projected prices for residential, non-residential, for each category, and it gives us the projected prices. Now it's going to ask us, would you like to enter in another vector of years? And we're going to say no. Move on to the next section, and it's going to ask us, would you like to see future solar productions? And we're going to say yep. And we're going to enter in 2020 and 2021, and this should give us a warning, because as you can see at the top, that these projections are past the year 2015. So it's gonna still run, but it's gonna give us a warning saying that these projections might not be very accurate. That's gonna ask us, would you like to enter in another years? We're gonna say yes. We're gonna say 2008 and 2009. As you can see, both of these values are not after 2009, so it's going to ask us to replace each one. So we're going to replace 2008 with 2010, and we're going to replace 2009 with 2011, and that should run. So it's going to ask us, it's going to output all the productions for every country for each year that we inputted. Let's say yes, and we'll put in 2015 and 2016. And as you can see, this also gives us that it might not be accurate past 2015. So that's really all the different scenarios that the user could input. So we're just going to say no. Would you like to enter another year? No. And that's it for this code. So who's really going to use this code? It's really for any user, engineers, or anyone that's interested in trend lines for future production or prices. Anyone can use this. Some limitations is that well, as you can see, that like if they enter in a year past 2015 or 2020 for those two sections, that data will not be very accurate. So this code can only predict for a very short period of time. Also, our data set kind of limits us because it's not very up-to-date information. So our data is not as accurate as it could be. And those are really all the limitations, and that's really it. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.